Lock it in and rip the knob off. You're tuned in to the #1 show on the planet. The Heffron and Reep Show.
Hey, everybody. Hope your Thanksgiving. See, I did it for a pause. I do that. I like when DJs do that. When they talk to you for a second and then they leave you hanging. Hopefully you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Monsieur Jon Reep is in Nashville, Tennessee. As you all know, he went down there on a humanitarian mission to get me and his face painted on the Zany's mural in the parking lot. There's every comedian ever. Some comedians that never even performed there. Some I question. I'm like, that she has never been in that club in 20 years. How'd she make the mural? So Jon Reep went down there. He had enough, and I believe he's stenciling pictures on the side of Zany's in Nashville. Maybe over that Bargatze guy's face. I don't know. But either way, we have a special guest that's standing in for Jon. He's either playing the role of Jon Reep or he can be himself. I don't know. You know him as Brad Williams. He'll be Jon Reep.
I can do it, man. I've got the beard. I can throw in a slight twang. I can say things like that thing got a him in, just like shake my head around a little bit.
Right.
So I can be full Jon Reep.
I wonder if just for the whole rest of this, I just talk to you as if you were Jon and not even mention it. Like we don't even.
Yeah. And then I'll say things like, I hear Brad Williams is playing the Comedy Castle in Royal Oak, Michigan, December 9th through 11th. He's really good. Everyone should go see that guy. He's a really talented comedian. But and I'll just talk like I'm Jon Reep.
That's actually you are, and that's one of the reasons why. By the way, hello everybody that's tuning in. You are at the Comedy Castle, the 9th through the 11th. Is that your first time at Ridley's?
I've been there before, one time before, and it was great. Everyone, like, I don't know the area, so I think Royal Oak, Michigan, like, cool. What's Royal Oak, Michigan? And then all the locals just go, oh, it's Detroit, but it's got a couple coffee houses.
Yeah, that's how that whole area was. It was super trendy when I was in my 20s and 30s. And just like every major city now there's a kind of a lot of for lease when you don't know what's going in. Some of this, like there used to be, that used to be a cool boutique where you get leather jackets. And now it's just, we don't know. We're going to be a coffee place, but you're going to love the Comedy Castle. And that's the first place that I ever headlined, obviously. And I think I did my 33rd year headlining there like a couple weeks ago. And here's why you're going to love it. One, Ridley's awesome. The club's awesome. But you are not one of those comedians who I think I'm a little PO'd at. Right next to the Comedy Castle, a few buildings down, there's a place that I used to love going to as a dance club, right? It's the Royal Oak Music Theater, right? Okay. And they never had comedians, but lately they're getting a lot of comedians, and it's right next to Ridley's, and it's people that have always worked for Ridley's are now kind of jumping to this theater. But here's where you're lucky, okay? Mm-hmm. When you go, I should be working at that theater, not at Ridley's. The theater's horrible for comedy. Everybody talks. Like went and saw Nate there. There was 2,000 people. Like 10 were listening at a show like that. So you are going to love the Comedy Castle. You're going to love the crowds. You're going to crush it. You're going to sell out, especially after the Heffron bump.
And this is something that I will say until I become a full-time theater comic. But I really like clubs. I like the intimacy. I like how most clubs are designed for stand-up comedy. And they're designed to have the best possible experience doing stand-up comedy. Whereas you go to some of the rock clubs and some of the theaters, stand-up isn't what they were talking about. It's not how it's designed. Or the staff there isn't quite sure how a comedy show works as opposed to when a band comes in. So I'm really digging the comedy clubs. I'm gonna try to hold on until they just write me a check that's big enough to do these theaters where I'm like, yeah, that makes more sense.
I had either good or bad, that I had a taste of both, so it's like right after last comic was probably when I was most popular, that we all have our 15 minutes, but it was weird because there was no social media kind of so even though there's a lot of people knew you were, there wasn't a way to even tell people you were going to the place. Right?
Yeah.
You didn't have the marketing, you didn't have the push that was now, right? So I was in theaters for like a second, and they were nice because you show up. I think it's kind of a weird disconnect with the crowd, because you don't really see a face. If somebody's talking, you don't really care, just because there's so many people. I don't know how those guys, and have you seen like all the arena rock guys now? Have you seen?
Oh man. Yeah, like you got your Sebastian Maniscalcos, and of course, I've seen the photos of when like Chappelle and Rogan go out together,
or Kreischer. There's like a group, right?
Yeah.
Like we're gonna look back 10, 15 years from now, or whatever. To me, the comedy is going through a very 80s metal hairband phase, where
there's a lot of people that are because you used to be able to count on essentially one hand all the people that can do the large theaters, or in some cases the stadiums. Now it feels like there's a lot. Like there's like you can do Eliza Schlesinger, you can do Ali Wong, you can do Bert Kreischer, Sebastian Maniscalco, Nate Bargatze is killing it right now. Like there's so many comics that are like just fucking like selling so many tickets and making so much money, John Heffron. And it's really awesome. I think we're in the middle of that like second comedy boom. And I hope that it goes a little while longer. It feels like a lot of people are trying to stop comedy right now because they're trying to say that we shouldn't be allowed to make jokes about things. But for the most part, it's pretty great.
Yeah, I had that happen, and I think I talked about it last time I was in Philly, and I said a throwaway line, right? In my act is for 30 some years, I'm right down the middle. I don't step on toes. It's just not. It's not right. I'm not edgy. I'm not screaming. I'm not this is how the world needs to be, and you better. I'm gonna sit on the stool and explain to you how this world is so fucked. That's never been me. I always tell people I'm like Matchbox 20 of comedy.
Hey man, I've seen Matchbox 20 twice in concert. It's a good show.
Right? Listen, you're gonna bring him up if you're having the best 20 bands in the world. You probably won't mention to him, but you know what? You enjoyed yourself at the concert. If they're on the radio, you're probably not gonna change it. If you're cleaning your apartment or your house and it comes on, it's good cleaning music. Right. So that's how I look at me as a comic. But I had somebody, I said one throwaway, and he walked out, and they're like, I don't respect you. And I just can't understand if you're going to a bar, literally, we're guys who are talking at bars, and you can't say stuff. Like I can't, like.
Yeah, it's a really strange thing. And not only can you not say it, but if you say the one thing that's wrong, now it's like you can't talk and no one should listen to you, because it's a strange thing. Like it's a joke that we make about bands when they introduce the new song from the new album. That's when you go and you get a beer, but they come back. You go, you get a beer, you go to the bathroom, you come back. You don't be like, well, Bon Jovi didn't play one song that I like, so fuck Bon Jovi.
Yeah,
and I'm
never again.
Yeah. And this,
I'm gonna make sure.
Not just me. I'm not just gonna walk out. Everyone in this arena. There was that video a couple weeks ago, in Jacksonville, Florida, of a woman just walking up on stage during a comedian's act. I don't know the name of the comedian, unfortunately, but he handled it really well. And she just walked up and like tried to stop the show and be like, no, these words can't be said.
He was doing say, she goes, you're talking about sex, and and then he goes to her, do you speak for everybody in this room? I heard a rumor, and I have not talked to Tammy Pescatelli, but I read that she was there in Jacksonville years ago, and a woman threw a glass of wine at her on stage. It made the news at the thing. She said that was the same exact woman.
Really?
Yeah.
I
That
would not
she
doubt
chucked the. I mean, listen, you go to Jacksonville, Florida, man, you're already buying a couple raffle tickets of things aren't gonna go well, right? Like even
it's
on
so
your
funny you mentioned that. It's so funny you mentioned that because when I saw the club, I was like, oh,
yeah
I've been to that club and
yeah.
some shit happened while I was there.
I wonder as a comic if you could like that'd be a fun game. They play comics where you show just the backdrop. That's all you do, and then you do three things. One of these is false, one is true. What happened at this? And you would just you'll be able to tell. So some places are just jinxed. So in a sense of like the Toledo Funny Bone. Like when you go there, right? The staff, everybody's cool, but you just kind of have that like weeks before you even show up, you're just like, oh man, I just hope that the Friday second show, because it's kind of lawless, right?
Yeah,
like they see people.
Funny you mentioned that because you mentioned the Toledo Funny Bone, and off the top of my head, I go, yeah, I got a story at that club too. Like
right, like they see you, and then just the staff disappears. It's the weirdest. It's almost like the Old West where they close the door and then they lock it at the top, and then you just
you're on your own.
And you just, and there was always one table there that was just, people would heckle all the time. And some clubs have that where it's just one, you go, can you just sage that table? It's that table. It's not, it's not the club. It's not the people working here. It's that table is jinxed.
Yeah, there was for me at the Toledo Funny Bone was a front table that was already drunk, heckling from the time that the show started, and then by the time I got there, as I'm on stage, they get brought another fish bowl, of alcohol, and they're already just like sauced out of their heads, and I'm just like, guys, cut them off, and like kept heckling me, and I'm just waiting for the staff. And it just makes me very thankful for clubs and staffs that do it right. I'll give a shout out to there at Helium in Buffalo. There is a bouncer there. His name is Will Smith. That's his actual name, of course, common name. And there was one time where a woman was heckling me at that club, and Will like walked right in and without breaking a stride, just picked her up, threw her over his shoulder, and just kept walking and just walked out the club, and it was awesome.
You know who else? There's a lot of clubs that do it right. Is my favorite guys though, right? And there's a bunch, but the Gotham Comedy Club in New York.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
The guys, the security, and if you're listening and you've never been there, right? So there's a couple types of security that are at comedy clubs. Just okay. There's when you're on stage, there's the big door guy that you're like, oh, at least there's a big door guy in it. But the whole time you're performing, you see him playing Candy Crush or something on his phone.
There's some guys that are there just to collect a paycheck.
If something happens, that guy better hope he's not on a level he hasn't passed, and he's gonna take his head out. There's those people, right? But my favorite are the Gotham comedy guys, because they all are either mostly retired cops, right? And on a scale of 1 to 10, what's the word I'm looking for? If like you're on the take, or you're like if you're in the mob and you're
connected. I don't know.
Yeah, like a scale 1 to 10. A 1 being a Cub Scout and a 10 being a horrible. They're at like 6s as far, you know what I mean? They just have this vibe. They're all older gentlemen and they're all in suits. So they're not wearing a pullover polo that has like a logo of somebody laughing on it.
Right.
Right. And they do this cool move. I remember there's like that club has a lot of people from all over the world show up at it. So it's an interesting mix. Table just kept talking. I try to deal with it, but I'm not confrontational. But they kept talking. This one guy walks over and he's all in a perfect suit. He's got cufflinks. He's got a gold watch. His hands are at his waist, and he just goes and he puts his hand on the guy's shoulder. Yeah. Right. Doesn't say a word. Doesn't see you guys are talking. You're doing this. Da 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 da. And then the guy kind of looked up, and it was this weird like the cavemanish alpha male, you know, and then the guy looked around the room and saw 5 other guys in suits, all with their hands just crossed at their waist, and you're like, I probably shouldn't be talking.
Yeah, and that's what you want. You want that security that's just a presence that can literally walk up. My favorite is when they come up and they don't say anything mean. They say something like almost sweet and nice, but it's like, hey, you're gonna want to stop doing that, but like in like a calming way. And then it's almost it's more terrifying and more imposing than if someone comes in and the bouncer is already at 10, like, hey, you guys gotta shut the fuck up, and if you don't shut the fuck, it's like, no, you don't want to do that. Come in, just be that guy and be like, hey, you're gonna want to stop what you're doing right now. And it's almost they just need that other adult in the room. The hecklers need the other adult in the room to come just let them know, like, hey, you're being an asshole, and they go, oh yeah, you're right, I'm kind of being an asshole.
You know, what is such a weird response. Let's say we're doing something, right? If me and you, I don't even have an example. We're at a wedding or some not a comedy event. Me and you we ran into each other. And we're talking loud at a Delta lounge at an airport we ran into, right? And some people are just sitting there. I'm like, hey, Brad, what's up? And we're kind of, if somebody was to shush me, and I've kind of had, you know, I've had it happen before where I just, instead of getting angry at that person, it's weird how you, another response is to go, oh, I wasn't self-aware. I apologize. And then just stop doing, like, that's an option that nobody realized that's a thing. You can go,
it's something strange where I feel like now we're getting to a point where everyone's been told so often that they're great. Like all the kids were told that they're great so often, and then they grew up and now they're adults that think they're great. So now when like someone shushes them or quiets them down, their initial snapback reaction is fuck you. They go right to fuck you. And for me, especially as a little person who can't win probably any fights, if someone shushes me or be like, hey man, can you keep it down? Like my initial response is, oh God, sorry. Like that's my initial response. And maybe it's also just because I've been married for 5 years now. Like, so like your initial response is, oh, sorry. Like,
because you just don't want.
I got sorry
have you
chambers,
ever,
man. I got them ready to go, ready to fire off at any moment.
Have you ever has anybody ever came at you just in life to fight you? Do you mean?
One time, but it was like, I don't get into fights. I'm not a fighter. I don't look for them. And most of the time it never gets to the fight. One time I was at this bar that's in my hometown, and I don't want to say it's my bar because I don't own it. But it's my bar. Like everyone knows Brad's the local here. He's from Fullerton, California. This is the place where he hangs out. All the staff knows me. They like me. It's a great bar. And I say it's a great bar. I'm not naming it because it literally just closed down. So
all right.
It sucks. I miss my bar.
How off, dude, you've been on the road since this whole, like, you've been humping it pretty much.
Yeah.
All during COVID and all that stuff. And you're just
there was as far as I know, I was the first comedian back along with Jeff Dye. Me and Jeff Dye went out at the very same weekend, and that was in May of 2020. I went to the Bricktown Comedy Club in Oklahoma City, and I believe Jeff went to Salt Lake City, Wise Guys. I believe we were the first ones back. When I first got back after COVID, I was doing like one weekend a month just to cover the expenses. I would come home, I would take 2 tests, and then I would go back in my house because I got a baby, and I would just do that. And then once clubs kind of figured out the whole distancing thing, I would do a little more a month, and then just not do meet and greets and not go out during the week. Like, I would just stay in my hotel room. And and then once I got vaccinated, I was like, all right, here we go. I remember 2 weeks after my second shot, I got booked at Captain Brian's in Naples. And when you're in Naples, Florida, I remember calling my wife going, we're going to find out if this vaccine works.
Right.
'Cause Naples was very like, we don't give a shit. We don't give two fucks.
Yeah.
And thankfully I didn't get it. So I guess it works.
Yeah, it was interesting when that was going on because all the clubs were at, the math kept changing 25%, 35%.
Yeah.
And I liked it because I was actually selling out.
I know.
It felt good. It felt good. I'm like, yeah, who needs? And then you're not meeting people after. I'm like, yeah, this is
pretty sweet. I mean, yeah, you weren't making the same money, but at the same time, the shows were good. Everyone was so thankful that you were out doing.
I noticed, and I don't know for you because we haven't talked during this, so maybe this conversation has been done. But what happened with me once I stopped traveling the amount that I did, right? I was 35 weeks a year for 30 years guy. So once I had this bit of a pause, I don't think I can ever go back to what I used to do. I have no interest. I have no interest in it. I mean, not performing, but not being gone every weekend.
Yeah.
Right. Like where I'm like, I'll do 2 weeks a month with some corporates scattered in and just call it a day.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's just, or maybe I'm having a midlife, but as a comic, are you in any, because you see who's filling rooms, right? And then I start comparing, going, well, I've been around forever. So I'm a 50-year-old white guy. Nobody's really looking for us unless you're really opinionated, but I'm not. So it's kind of,
man, hey, John, you can just like, you could, but you just have to sacrifice all your morality and like dig in and go either one extreme or the other. Just go like full hippie, where everything's problematic and you won't really be funny anymore, but or you go the other way and you go full like alt-right and you just have to be really angry.
I know a lot of guys that did that I won't mention any names, that weren't that way until they saw this lane open, right? Like how easy would it be if you were far left or far right as a comic?
Yeah,
just because your jokes or even what your rants are so predictable that your crowd would just cheer that it's not even a thing.
Yeah, they're not necessarily laughing. They're just doing a lot of like just a lot of that. And and there's a lane for those guys and girls, and that's fine. If they want to do that, that's cool. But for me, it's kind of like if you're a hot woman, you could always just do porn and make money or do OnlyFans and make money. But it's just like, do you want to go there? Do you want everything else that
seems exhausting?
And that's me, like, because my personal political beliefs are very centered. Some good, some from this side, some from this side. So I don't want to dig in. I don't want to sacrifice, and I don't want to say things that I know aren't real and have it influence certain people. Like I can't do that. So if I make a little less money but I can sleep at night and my daughter doesn't hate me, then cool. I think that's good.
Or even in the podcast realm, because it's so, even to have a podcast like me and Reep or Reep's country-ish, where it's just trying to be entertaining. Like right, you're just like, here, Reep does stories of or we just try to have like fun conversations. But then when I fly through YouTube, I see most of the podcasts that are on there. It's just everyone, and I keep bringing this up, but I keep seeing people do this. There's 400 podcasts. There's a lot of comics included in this that I don't understand why they don't create their own content and just whatever. But it's literally 400 podcasts from a lot of comics that just break down what Rogan said. That's literally, it's so much, dude. There's like young guys who I don't know, but the whole thing is them like with really cool Air Jordans just going, Rogan's the GOAT, bro. And then they just break down what Rogan, like it's all that. And then I found, because you know how on YouTube, how it recommends you, right? Yeah. So I'll click on some comics I don't know. There's a whole generation of comics that I didn't start with. I don't know. They seem to do well with their podcasts and people come and see them. But then I'm seeing, I'm seeing all these beefs between comics that I don't know super well that all have beefs. And then their whole, it's hilarious to me that comedians have beefs enough to go on to YouTube because their fans are younger, right? So if you like that type of thing, you're probably a younger kid. And when I was growing up, there's a lot of beefs between like Tiffany and Debbie Gibson. So it's kind of cool that there's comedy fans now get to see those same type of beefs between comics.
Yeah, it's weird. Like I just don't. I don't want to beef with anybody. I don't want.
Who would you beef with? I don't even get. Remember, I think there was some unspoken rule that you kind of never really shit on another comic, right? Like I never really heard but now that's all you kind of. Now that that's
like don't get me wrong, there's comics that do and say things that I go, ugh, I wouldn't do that, or I don't like that, or I wouldn't say that, or whatever, or that's an opinion I don't necessarily agree with. But the last thing I would do would be to shit on them and try to build myself up based on putting them down, because and that's the thing is we know, because we're comedians, we know how hard it is to create content and write jokes and come up with new material, and how much that we're constantly just throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. And there's if you go through all my jokes that didn't work, you're gonna find some stuff that is just
right yeah,
and it's not necessarily what I believe or what actually happened in a story, but it's what I tried to say or tried to do or attempted thinking it would be funny, and then it didn't. And that happens. Like, people think that comedians are just gonna we're gonna bat 1,000. We're not gonna bat 1,000. We're gonna miss a couple of times. But you got to take your hacks.
So again, Brad Williams is at the Comedy Castle December 10th, 11th, 12th? 9th through 11th, Royal Oak. Go to comedycastle.com. Those tickets will sell out there. I was excited.
It's such a great club, man. I've found out that those real blue collar cities, like, and I mean, what's more blue collar than that area? Detroit? Like, y'all like to laugh. Like, they like to laugh, and people there typically, there's of course some outliers, but typically don't get offended at stuff, because you usually get offended at stuff if you don't know what actual problems are. Like right. Detroit, that's a city that knows what real shit is. Yeah. So they're like, I don't care that you just said that thing that I don't agree with. Like, I'm trying to escape, and so I can worry about paying my rent.
Plus, everybody here, I think you're in that mood because it snowed last week and it's 20 something degrees, where you just settle in and go, oh, it's gonna be like this till April. Like you're like, we're just done.
Oh, so this is gonna be snow. Oh yeah, I guess it is. It's December.
There's a lot
Detroit,
of snow.
So yeah,
out there now. So you took a picture. What did you do recently? Because I follow you on social media. You took a picture with somebody uber famous recently.
Oh, Jesus, I don't know.
No, but I don't know where you said it was a dream. Was it a wrestler?
Oh, well, yeah. Like, I've sort of, it's like me and Ron Funches have sort of become like the unofficial, official comedians of wrestling. I did the Chris Jericho Rock and Wrestling Rager at Sea, and I did the Jericho cruise. And as a wrestling fan, like, oh my God, this was it's everything I want in a cruise. It's pro wrestling on a boat, it's stand-up comedy, and it's metal. Like, that's everything I want. That's all the things I like. And it's like they might as well call it the Brad Williams Make-A-Wish cruise, because that's like literally everything I like. So,
and that was recently, though.
Yeah, that was a few weeks ago. We were Norwegian Cruise's first boat out of the East Coast.
Nobody caring about COVID. You guys are having apple bobbing competitions.
Yeah, right? We were the canary in the coal mine to see if we could do cruises again. And everyone on the boat had to be vaccinated. Everyone had to have a test within 72 hours, a negative test, and then they had a rapid antigen test before you got on the boat. Right before you got on the boat. So like they did their damnedest. And as far as I know, I could be wrong, but as far as I know, that no one popped positive. And well,
if it was a metal wrestling type thing, nobody got COVID, but there's a lot of HPV passed
Oh,
around.
tons of HPV.
A
They
lot
got
of
something
herpes.
on the
Yeah, but
boat.
nobody got COVID though. Yeah. There's no. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
and it's strange how cruises for comedy have kind of come around to where you and I know that at one point, like if you said you're a comedian and you were doing cruises, other comedians kind of look down on you like, oh,
yeah,
they've given up, they're just doing whatever. But now it's like these specialty cruises,
yeah.
like with all one group of like-minded people on a boat, they're fun. They're a lot of fun. And the thing about wrestling fans love to chant. They like chants. So I never thought I would ever do a show. And this happened where I did a joke. The joke got a big laugh. And then the entire crowd of this theater that holds 1,100 people started chanting, "This is awesome. This is awesome." And like, that's an ego boost, man. Like, shoot that into my veins. I mean, don't get me wrong. I tried another joke and it didn't go well, and they did another wrestling chant where they all chanted, "You fucked up, you fucked up." So I wasn't perfect, but it was so much fun. And like I said, I'm a big wrestling fan, and they could tell they know I'm a wrestling fan. So I did some jokes that only wrestling fans know about, and
That's so funny.
they sort of looked at me as one of their own, which was cool, and just a blast. And like, I was a huge fan of Chris Jericho when I was in high school, and he was in the WWE Attitude Era. And then now I'm friends with him, and that's madness to me. Like, I'm
That is
friends with my two childhood heroes. I'm friends with Chris Jericho, and I'm friends with the guy whose jersey is right behind me, John Elway, and that's insane to me.
You know, it's funny when Corona first started happening. What did I zoom? I had to zoom in to something.
Yeah.
And it was kind of when you didn't even know how to zoom or what your backdrop was going to look like.
Yeah.
Right. We all had to kind of figure it out quick, especially I never did any Zoom comedy shows, but you had to figure it out. So I called into somebody and I'm like, well, what do you think of the backdrop? I had some stuff. And he's like, it's okay. He goes, so far, Brad Williams has the best thing. I think it might even been a Denver show or something.
Wow.
They talked about, yeah, because you were sitting right in front of your frame jersey, and they said your backdrop looked the best.
Yeah.
So.
I did one of those virtual shows, and whoever said that, thank you. I did a big virtual show where I was like called into all the radio stations like all over the country to all tune in, and we got this whole setup here in this room that I'm in right now, and the backdrop was like kind of like that, and you just saw like a bunch of like sports memorabilia that I have in this room and a bunch of books and like stuff like that. But that's something that we all kind of had to do, like you say, on the fly, is get your Zoom backdrop. Like, you don't just want to get a wall. You want to get like, hey, this kind of says who I am.
Yeah.
Here's some books.
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to read.
If you see me, I got Grover, Animal. These are the cast of Breakin' right here. There's like Sade record set right here. Obviously,
Yeah.
you see all the stickers. How do I even point? I don't know how weather guys do this. I don't even know how to point that way.
Yeah.
You know, there,
Dude,
a book
great.
I did wrote right there. So
yeah, you have to have something that is your personality. I got my Broncos jersey, got a record player, got a picture with Hulk Hogan. That's
how was that guy? How was Hulk Hogan?
Oh, okay. Oh, it's right here. So I'll tell you the story about this. There's Hogan. And the story about that photo is, it's one of the craziest gigs I ever did. Were you ever an audience warm-up guy?
No.
No. So I took a job as an audience warm-up guy, and for those of you who don't know, every show that has a live audience, every TV show that has a live studio audience, they're not just sitting there quiet until they start taping. There's a comic who's an audience warm-up guy, and he or she is constantly talking. They're playing games. They're interviewing people. Like, their job is to keep the crowd hyped, so when they finally come back and start filming again, the crowd's already hyped and ready to go. So I got hired to do audience warm up on a TV show that was called Hulk Hogan's Wrestling with Celebrities. And when you think, oh, so you're like, wow, wrestling with celebrities. So who was there? Was Channing Tatum there? Was like The Rock? Like, no. When they say celebrity, I mean, I'm talking Todd Bridges. I'm talking Screech. I'm talking about your best friend in the entire world. Danny Bonaducci was on it.
Right.
I know you're not surprised by that. But
how did I miss this? Did it ever make it to air?
Yeah, it did. It made it to air. It aired on country music television,
of course,
CMT.
Yeah.
And yeah, who are the other wrestlers? Dennis Rodman. We had Stallone. And when you think Stallone, you're like, oh wow, Sylvester. No, we had Frank.
Yeah.
So that was the cast. Then and other wrestlers of that ilk, other celebrities of that ilk. And so I was the audience warm up guy, and I was in a wrestling ring. Like the set was a wrestling set. There was a ring. There was bleachers all around, and they would watch the celebrities do their matches. But in between the matches, they'd be filming stuff, getting things ready, and that's when I would come out and do my audience warm up, which was great. I would come out and hype the match and talk wrestling and blah blah blah. And then I wanted to do this thing. I was like, I've got a friend. He's the other guy in that photo. His name's Ozzy, and he was training to become a professional wrestler. And I've done like one class. I did one class. And so I did this thing where I had Ozzy in the audience, and he heckled me. And then I came back at him, and I did the whole like, oh, you think this is easy? Why don't you try it? And invited him into the ring. And then Ozzy came in the ring, told two really bad jokes that I wrote that are like just horrible.
Right.
And the audience started booing him, and then he turns in frustration and hits me with the microphone. Makes a big boom. Everyone gasps. And now it's an impromptu wrestling match. And Ozzy and I started like doing moves. Like we started doing stuff. And it ended with me going off the top rope, doing a frog splash and landing on Ozzy. A ref who I had tipped out that we were going to do this slides into the ring, counts 1, 2, 3. The whole place explodes, and the director's actually mad at me. The director's mad at me. Like everyone's like, "Oh my god, that was incredible." The director's like, "We need the audience that hype for our stuff. Like, what are you doing? Like Dennis Rodman versus Frank Stallone is not going to get that kind of reaction."
That's hilarious.
So, and when the match was done and when they started and we were about to start taping again, Hogan stopped the taping and went, "Hold on, I got to talk to those guys." Like he delayed taping. He's like, "I got to talk to those guys." And so we walked up there, and like I said, I'm a huge wrestling fan. So Hulk Hogan, come on, like that's the guy. And we walk up there, and he's like, "Oh man, you guys are like a wrecking crew out there, brother," and like just was really nice to us. Said we did a good match, and took that photo, and it was awesome, man. It turned from one of my like, I can't believe I'm doing this gigs to, fuck yeah, I'm so glad I did this gig.
That's so fun. I'm gonna have to look it up now to even see.
Dude, Nikki Ziering was one of the female wrestlers. Trishelle from The Real World. Like it's a doozy of a lineup, man.
On CMT. That's so funny how those cable networks always start off with like a, hey, we're this and we're gonna only, we're country, and then they have like one show, and then after that we have no programming. We don't know how to do this. Let's just grab,
Let's pay $500 million and get Friends, just like every other network is doing right now. Let's just buy Friends. That's it.
Where you at in the next couple weeks? I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna play this music. Here we go. We'll do this.
There you go.
Can you hear?
Right. I will be at the mentioned Comedy Castle December 11th or December 9th through the 11th, Royal Oak, Michigan. Then after that, I think I'm off till New Year's. So I'll be doing New Year's Eve in San Diego at the American Comedy Company. I'll be there. I got Denver the week after that. For all my dates, just go to bradwilliamscomedy.com. I am booked up until I think it's November 2022. I got dates like all throughout. And so yeah, if I'm not coming to your town, wait, I'll be there. Just give it time.
Hold on.
What do you got here, John?
No, I was gonna show. Oh, this isn't it. I was gonna show my calendar, but that was from my. I'm always keeping my 2020 calendar. That I always have a special moment because there's literally nothing. You know what I mean? Where you just start writing. Well, it was like a journal. I've waited another fortnight.
Yeah.
You know, ramen noodles are. I am. Where are we? Next week, I will be at the Chicago Improv, which is actually in Schaumburg. Then the following weekend, I will be at Hilarities in Cleveland, and then finishing out this year at Charlie Goodnight's in Raleigh. I'll be there for New Year's Eve.
Of your Cleveland date, man. That's one of those clubs. It's one of the best clubs in the country.
Kind of, it's like a weird, it is really cool. It is really cool.
It's the best. Most clubs, for those of you listening, when you're the headlining comedian and you order the nicest thing on the menu, they get mad at you for some weird reason, or they kind of go like, "Oh, you think you deserve steak?" At Hilarities in Cleveland, they get mad if you don't order the filet mignon. They're like, "You're here. We have filet mignon. Get it. It's great, and you don't pay for it. It's amazing." They really know how to treat comedians. So yeah, Hilarities in Cleveland, one of the top 5 clubs in the country.
Well, let me ask you this real quick before I almost ended it, but I'm bringing. What's your? How many people following you on Instagram?
About 170,000.
And the music stopped. I kind of looked at my analytics. I gain 4 followers a week and I lose 2, and I've been consistent for almost a full year.
Wow.
So I just what I'm gonna do, I think I'm gonna have to start looking at people who do well and literally almost copying the picture. I might do that. You might be one of them. There's a couple of people where I might just look, and whatever that picture is, I might just recreate it and just do it.
I mean, John, for almost 2 years, you were posting photos of green room couches. Now, I'm not going to say that wasn't great content, but
so I completely, you know what? And then we stopped performing. So if you go to my Instagram, which is comedian John Heffron, and scroll way back in the olden days, I would take pictures of a green room couch. Just that was the thing. Every week, brand new green room couch. And I think I would do a description like I was rating it, or if it was in Zillow or something.
And then every one of those photos, I decided to comment, "I've had sex on that couch."
So Brad just kept commenting, "I've had sex on that couch. I've had sex on that couch." And then I did one and Brad didn't comment. And I don't know how many people. There are dozens of people just responding going, "Brad Williams has had sex on the couch." Like it's such a fun. Well, I'll give you something that me and Reep do all the time when you're on Facebook, right? When you as Brad Williams on Facebook. So anytime I'm scrolling and we see like a farmer chic, like any kind of story, or now even with other comics, I always go, "Hey, at Jon Reep, we were just talking about this." And then he'll see that he was tagged. He'll go, "Oh my God, OMG," right? With a bunch of eyes. That's all we say. On the weirdest, like anything we see in Facebook, we just kind of see that. And people are jumping out. So feel free. If you're ever just on Facebook and you come across a weird recipe, somebody's doing, fusion mineral paint, just go, "Hey, at John Heffron, at Jon Reep, you guys were just talking about this." And I'm going to see what happens if we balloon it up into 3 people.
I love that. No, I'll do it. Cause I follow a lot of like dad blogs and stuff like that on Facebook, so I could learn how not to kill my kid. And
yeah, we'll blow up that Bat Dad dude site. Yeah, we never comment about the thing, or we never say anything bad or whatever. It's always, hey, blank, we were just talking about this, and the other person responds.
Perfect. I'll do it for you. No
All right,
problem.
man. Be safe. Enjoy your family. Have a good holidays. If I don't talk to you, I really appreciate you jumping in last minute as Jon Reep.
Of course, I am happy to play the part of Jon Reep. I'm wearing a hat that I bought at a truck stop somewhere, so I'm really playing the part of Jon Reep today, and I was happy to do it.
So here's what he always does, and I don't understand it. When I say goodbye, you just have to yell bicycle. I don't get it. I've never asked him why he does it. If you want my dates, everyone, go to heffronreep.com. Has all our dates on there. Check out Brad Williams on everything. If you're a Brad Williams fan and you follow him on Instagram, why don't you come over to comedian John Heffron on Instagram? Why don't you come over to this side? See what's going on over here. All right, everybody. Take care of yourself. Yo, bicycle. Yeah.